there are frequent warnings about the threat of occupation of the Baltic states. What are the possible scenarios of this occupation?
Well, the possible scenarios of Russia attacking and invading and holding territory in the Baltic states, if you look at the map, the Baltic states are very vulnerable. They're small countries. They don't have sufficient military. If there was to be a large-scale Russian attack, I'm looking at the pessimistic side. I'm actually an optimist on this. But looking at the pessimistic side, Russia could very quickly, if it used ground forces and air force, in other words, there's not much of a local air force anyway, but to destroy a lot of the military infrastructure from the air and come in by land and take over the cities, Tallinn and Riga in particular. Vilnius would be a bit more problematic because Poland is right next door, and I think any attack on Lithuania would automatically trigger a Polish response. We're not absolutely as clear how quickly Poland could respond in case of an attack on Estonia or on Latvia. And this is why there's something very important. There's a little geographical area called the Suwałki Corridor, which is between Belarus and Królewiec or Königsberg, formerly Kaliningrad, which is only about 120 kilometers wide. And when NATO would have to, by land, reinforce logistically the Baltic states in case of an attack. So the danger is that the Baltic states could be relatively isolated for a few crucial days before NATO, if, of course, NATO responds fully as it should under Article 5, comes to the assistance of any of the Baltic countries. So this is sort of the worst case scenario, that somehow at some point the Russian army would revive itself and invade and take the 3 Baltic states. Again, that's the pessimistic scenario. I'm more of an optimist. The Russian army took how long to take Avdiivka or Bakhmut? How many died? How much was destroyed? I don't think the Russian army at this point or in any near future is in any shape to stage a major land assault on any country, including the Baltic states. They may try some provocations. They may try and stir trouble with the ethnic Russian minorities in these countries, but I don't see a major military assault, even though some of their propagandists are threatening such a thing. The Russians, if they manage, this is the bigger fear, I think, in the region, that the Russians, if there is, let's put it this way, if there is no massive assistance to Ukraine to win this war, if the lines somehow, either there is some deal in which Russia manages to keep some of its territory, if some of the sanctions begin to be lifted and Russia starts to rebuild its military, that maybe within 2, 3, 4 or longer years, Russia will then be in a position, much stronger position, to threaten its Western neighbors other than Ukraine. This is the sort of scenario that a lot of people paint in places like Warsaw and Vilnius and Tallinn. And this is why, for instance, Polish defense spending is now going like this. It's 4% and climbing, and Polish military is building up its forces, it's stockpiling, building a great weapons supply from the US, from other West European countries, from South Korea, in preparation for war. And Prime Minister Tusk just a couple of days ago actually said we are in a pre-war situation, a pre-war era. In other words, the idea is to warn people, just in case the Western alliance fails Ukraine and America fails Europe, then Poland has to be ready. And Poland has to be ready to defend itself and to defend its immediate neighbors. So I think those warnings are very important, because it convinces countries such as France and Britain and even Germany that a war is coming, and they have to start to wake up. They have to start getting prepared for a major confrontation with Russia in the next few years, with or without American involvement. With American involvement, I think any chances of Russian attacks or provocations against Europe decline, they diminish.